Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we are diving into something absolutely crucial. We're unpacking this incredible manifesto-style text by Dr. Abimbola Ogundure called The Teacher Nigeria Needs. And let me tell you, this isn't just about making a few tiny tweaks to the curriculum. No, it is demanding a complete teardown and rebuild of the teaching profession itself. If you've ever looked at traditional education and thought, man, this just feels completely out of touch with the modern world, well, this breakdown is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about the person standing at the front of the room. Whether you're a teacher grinding it out every single day, a parent trying to navigate the school system, or really just someone who cares deeply about the future of society, you're going to want to stick around for this. Let's get right into it.
Right out of the gate, Dr. Ogundure hooks us with this seemingly simple yet profound question. Who exactly is the teacher Nigeria needs? Now, you might be thinking of the standard, run-of-the-mill answer, but scrap that. We are no longer just preparing kids to memorize facts off a chalkboard, right? We are preparing them for a world we can barely even predict. So Dr. Ogundure argues that for a totally different kind of future, Nigeria, and honestly any forward-thinking society, needs a fundamentally different kind of educator. The source material has this really driving, fast-paced, almost spoken word rhythm to it, and we're going to match that energy as we break down exactly what this modern teacher looks like step by step.
Okay, let's dive into this first pillar, the core foundation, focusing entirely on internal mastery.
Look, we all love an enthusiastic teacher. Energy, great. Passion, absolutely wonderful. But let's be honestly frank for a second here. Enthusiasm without actual skill? That's just organized chaos with construction paper. The text hits the nail on the head here. Nigeria strictly needs a professional who is deeply competent. There is a massive difference between loving the idea of teaching, maybe loving the summer breaks or the romanticized idea of inspiring kids, and actually possessing the rigorous professional skills to pull it off at the highest level, day in and day out. We literally need people who truly fundamentally master the mechanics of their craft.
And to get to that level of deep competence, the text outlines a very specific inner mindset. Let's build through these traits quickly, because Dr. Ogundure uses this powerful repetition that just really drives the point home. Nigeria needs a teacher who is curious, someone asking questions, always learning, realizing they're a lifelong student of their own profession. Nigeria needs a teacher who is reflective, someone brave enough to look honestly at their own daily practice and admit, wow, that lesson totally bombed. How do I fix it? And Nigeria needs a teacher who is intentional, meaning they know their why. They aren't just surviving until the 3 p.m. bell rings. They act with deliberate intention, knowing exactly how today's fraction worksheet connects to tomorrow's real-world problem-solving skills.
Moving right along to pillar number 2, navigating the modern ecosystem. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it addresses survival. How does this grounded, intentional teacher actually thrive out in the wild? Well, they have to be fiercely adaptive. You simply cannot afford to be rigid in a modern classroom. Why? Because as the text brilliantly points out, relying on yesterday's lesson plan for tomorrow's problems is a guaranteed recipe for irrelevance. The world outside the classroom window is spinning faster than ever, right? If you weren't adapting, kind of like a chameleon shifting to match its environment, your methods are actively expiring in real time, and it's the students who end up paying the price.
And speaking of staying relevant, we absolutely have to talk about digital awareness. But there's a vital nuance in the source material here that we really can't miss. Being digitally aware is not just about making sure a toddler doesn't swallow an iPad or throwing some flashy tech into a lesson just to look good during a principal's observation. It goes way deeper. Teachers absolutely have to understand the very fabric of the world these kids are actually growing up in. You've got to practically grasp their digital reality, the media they're consuming, the tools they're going to use in their future careers, their digital footprint. If you don't practically get their world, how can you effectively prepare them for it?
So this role naturally expands outward in distinct steps. Step 1 is becoming the ethical guardian. Just think about the heavy emotional weight of that for a second. Families are literally handing over their most precious asset, their children, and trusting you with their developing minds and physical safety every single day. Holding on to that strict ethical trust, that is the absolute baseline of the profession. But that foundation naturally evolves into step 2, the collaborative partner. A truly modern teacher gets that educating a child isn't some solo act you perform in a silo. It requires active, continuous partnership with your colleagues and, crucially, with those very same families who trusted you in the first place.
That brings us to pillar number 3, the power of advocacy.
Nigeria needs a teacher who is an advocate. Now, this is an active, deeply demanding responsibility that drags a teacher right out of that traditional classroom bubble. It means being the person in the room willing to boldly but appropriately speak up and fight for exactly what children need. Let's face it, your students simply do not have a seat at the table when school policies are finalized or when systemic budgets get slashed. So you have to become their voice, whether that's fighting for better learning resources, pushing for stronger mental health support, or honestly just standing up for one struggling kid in a staff meeting. Advocacy isn't extra credit, it's an essential daily part of the job.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our fourth and final pillar, leadership beyond the title.
We really need to smash a massive misconception right now. You do not need the words head teacher slapped on your door to be a leader. You don't need coordinator or director in your job title, and you definitely don't need a promotion. Dr. Ogundere strips all that corporate jargon away and defines leadership so beautifully and simply. Leadership is just influence. That's it. It's not a fancy plaque on a door, it's an action. It's something you do, not a status you hold. And honestly, the second you redefine it like that, everything about being an educator fundamentally shifts.
So the crucial point is understanding exactly how you exercise this influence. According to the text, every single time you impact the thinking, the behavior, the confidence, or the choices of another human being, you are exercising influence. Just pause and think about the sheer magnitude of that for a second. Teachers are doing this hundreds of times a single day. You're not just delivering a standardized curriculum, you are actively wiring the architecture of the next generation's minds. Every little word of encouragement, every redirected behavior, every challenging question you pose to a student, that is an act of profound, everyday leadership. Which brings us to this incredibly heavy-hitting quote that brings this entire manifesto to a powerful, emotional crescendo. Listen closely to this. Changemaker is not a job title. It is a way of practicing your profession. I'll say it again. It is a way of practicing your profession. It's not some magical VIP status you hit and then just rest on. It's a daily, intentional practice. It's literally the culmination of everything we've been talking about today. Being competent instead of just enthusiastic. Being curious, being adaptive, guarding that ethical trust, and fighting as a fierce advocate. It is the absolute essence of the teacher Nigeria and frankly the whole world needs right now.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, direct challenge, drawn straight from the heart and spirit of the text. Whether you are standing at the front of a classroom in Nigeria or you're tuning into this explainer from anywhere else in the world, the blueprint is right here in front of us. The need is so urgently real, and the future is demanding a totally new kind of professional. Are you ready to step into true leadership? Are you ready to actually be a change maker? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep learning, keep reflecting on your practice, and I'll catch you in the next one.